Hey y'all, this is going to be operations on polynomial review. It's going to be for integrated 2 for Monday, the 26th. All right, so a lot of this is going to be one of two things. One, we're going to be doing the box method, right, from what we've done in the last couple of days or from last week, those videos. And then two, we're going to be practicing combining like terms. All right. So let's get started. I'm going to go through a few of these, do some examples. Again, if you have questions, you got to reach out to me, ask me questions. Like seriously, text me, email me during the day. I will respond like within a couple minutes. I'm going to respond super fast. So if you need help when you're in class, go ahead, do that. I will respond quickly. All right. So for these first ones here, just remember we want to set up that box method to multiply. So we got an x, a plus 5. On one side, and then we've got an x and then a minus 8 on the other side. All right, so again, if you have a ton of questions about the box method ones, totally go back. All the links are in Google Classroom, right? So just scroll down a little bit and you'll see the links from the previous, from last week, and check out the box method videos when I go into it just a little bit more. All right, and again, also, work with your groups. I have you in groups so that you'll talk to people. Work together, talk to your classmates too, and again, always ask me questions. Anyways, so we got x times x. That's going to go in this box. That'll be x squared. Right? And then here we got x times negative 8. That is negative 8x. Then we got 5 times x. That'll be 5x. And finally, we have 5 and negative 8. That's negative 40. Right? We're just making our way around the box. And then once we do that, you're going to add everything together, put it all in a line. So we got x squared plus 5x minus 8x minus 40. All right, make sure you're being mindful of those signs. Which ones are positive, which ones are negative. All right, and then the last thing you want to do, every single time, just combine your like terms. So like terms, you're looking for the same variable, which for this problem is fine because all the letters are x's. So all the letters we have, they're already the same. But they also have to have the same exponent. So if you're looking for the same exponent, this is the only guy with an exponent of 2, right? The only one that has a power 2. So that one's by itself, nothing to combine there. In the same way, this 40, right, that's the only number that just stands alone. Everything else has some sort of x or a letter attached to it, right? So that 40, or actually the negative 40, that's also going to stand alone. But these two guys in the middle, these guys we can combine, right? Because they both have an x, and that x, if you remember the invisible power, the invisible 1, right? Those are the same power. So same letter, same power, we can combine those. So 5 minus 8 gives us negative 3. So let's write our final answer. So you got x squared minus 3x minus 40. Right, because notice what we did. We combined 5 minus 8, and that gave us a negative 3. The x squared stays the same right here. The minus 40 stays the same right there. And that's going to be your answer right there. All right, so box method, pretty straightforward. This next one, I'll show you how to set it up. But then I'll let you go from there. So remember, if it's squared, that means it's being multiplied by itself, right? That's y minus 5 times y minus 5. So I can go ahead and set up a box method, y minus 5 over here, and then on top another y minus 5, and then I can go from here. I just want to make sure you remember that when you see that squared, right, that's the y minus 5 being multiplied by another y minus 5. Same thing for this one. It's going to be the same setup. All right, and again, this is the same thing here. Just set up a box method again. All right. I'll do this one because this one is a little different just because we've got that third term that's in that second set of parentheses, right? We got 3 terms here. 1, 2, 3. So I'll work through this one, and then we'll do some on the next group of problems as well. All right. So we got 4h and a minus 1 on this side. And then up top, we got 2h squared, h, and negative 4. We could even say a plus h if you want. I want to leave the sign in there. All right. So first thing we got, again, we're just going around the box. If we want, we can go ahead and put those invisible powers on there too, right? Like whenever there's an h, that's really an h to the 1. Okay, so let's go through multiply. 4h times 2h squared. So you multiply the numbers out in front, right? We'll multiply the 4 and the 2, and that'll give us 8. And then the exponents, you're adding the exponent. So you're adding the 1 plus 2, gives you h cubed. All right, same thing to the next one. So we're going to go 4h times h. That's going to be 4, and then we're adding the exponents. 1 and 1 makes 2, right? 1 and 1 will be h squared. And then lastly, over here, we'll go 4h times negative 4. 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. And then don't forget the h, or h to the 1. All right, let's go down to that bottom row here. Keep going across, same thing. So we got negative 1 times 2h squared. That'll be negative 2h squared. Nice thing about multiplying by negative 1 is all you're doing is just changing the sign. So if you catch the pattern here, that means that negative 1 times h will be negative h. And negative 1 times negative 4 will just be positive 4. All right, let's go through, add them all together. So we've got 8h cubed minus 2h squared plus 4h squared minus h minus 16h plus 4. So again, notice all I did is I just wrote down everything that was inside this box. I wrote it down here. All right, and then the next thing we're going to do, the last step, every single time when you're multiplying these, combine like terms. So we're looking for the same exponent. Exponent. That's got to be the same. So this guy, this is the only one that has an h cubed, right? It's the only one with an exponent of 3. That one's going to stay by itself. Same thing with the 4. That 4 is the only number that doesn't have an h attached to it. So that one's going to stay by himself too. Everything else can be combined with something. All right, we can combine these two together because they both have a power of 2. And we can combine these two together because they both have that invisible power of 1. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So we'll bring this guy down, right, the h cubed, because there was nothing to do there. Now for the green ones, you got negative 2 plus 4. Negative 2 plus 4 is 2. So it'll be plus 2h squared. And again, notice, when you add and subtract, don't change the exponent. I can't stress that enough. Super important. If you're adding or subtracting, do not change the exponent. That's only for multiplying or dividing, but we're not dividing yet, so don't worry about that. So for now, it's only for multiplying. Let's keep going with the yellow. So this would be negative 1h minus 16h. That'll be negative 17h. And don't forget to the 1 up there, right? Because we're not changing the exponent. And then again, that last plus 4. All right, and there's your answer. Okay, so set up your box method, multiply in for each of the little boxes in there, then write everything out and combine like terms at the very end. Like terms, you're looking for the same letter, same exponent. All right, let's check out a couple of these other ones. Let's see what else we got. Honestly, this one up here, I'll do this first. I'll do this first one here. All right, seems like there's a lot going on. So let's see. So first thing I notice is this minus. Whenever we're subtracting an entire, like a whole set of parentheses, this minus sign, it needs to be distributed to everything inside. So what that means is you're flipping all the signs. So if they're positive, make it negative. If it's negative, make it positive. If we're distributing a positive, that doesn't do anything. It doesn't change anything, right? Like 8 plus 3, it's just adding a 3. Right, but minus, if it was 8 minus 3, we're subtracting 3. It's like it's a negative 3. We're taking away. So with this whole thing being taken away, we need to switch all the signs on the inside. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Rather than rewriting this entire thing and making you watch me write for a full minute, because I know you just skipped that part of the video anyway, I'm going to like write over it, and I'm going to make these all negative signs in here. All right, so we've got minus 3k squared minus j squared minus j, right? Okay, think about what I did is I took that minus sign on the outside, I distributed it to everything that was on the inside. Okay, now I'm going to rewrite it, but without the parentheses, so we can start combining like terms. We've got k squared plus 2j squared minus 5k. And again, think about this as almost like a plus 1 right here. So it's like I distribute a 1. But again, if you're multiplying everything by 1, we're not actually changing it, right? So this whole second set of parentheses, that's just staying the same. 2k squared plus j squared minus 6k. And then this one down here, right, we switched all the signs. They all became negative because that whole set of parentheses was being subtracted. Okay, so now we're going to look to combine like terms. So same letter and same exponent, right? Now it matters the letter too, right? Because we've got two different letters now. We've got k's and we've got j's. So let's look at all the k squareds, because that's the first thing I see. I see a k squared here, a k squared here, and a k squared there. All right, let's look for the k's. I see some k's right here. I see some more right there. And I think that's it for the k's. And then let's look for the j squareds. See some right there, and right there. And then just the j's, I think that leaves just this guy right over here as the only j. Okay, so let's combine everything together. So all of our greens, all of our k squareds. We had k squared plus 2k squared minus 3k squared, right? That actually ends up being 0, right? 1k squared plus 2k squared is 3k squared, but then we subtract 3k squared, so that's going to cancel out. That's going to give us a 0. So all those green guys actually cancel out. All right, let's check out the blues. So we've got a 2j squared plus 1j squared. That's going to give us 3 minus 1. That'll take us back to 2. So our blues give us a 2j squared. Now let's look at the yellows. So we've got minus 5k, minus 6k, and I think that was it for our yellows. So that'll be minus 11k. Minus 5 minus 6 is minus 11k. And then what else do we have? We already did the k squareds because those canceled. And then the last thing we've got is just going to be the j's. And that's just this guy right here. It's that one pink one. All right, so it's going to be minus j. And don't forget, our k squareds canceled out. That's why we don't have any k squareds. And everything else, the blues, the yellows, and then that one pink, we have now combined all of our like terms. There's nothing else we can combine because we don't have any terms that either have or that have both the same letter and the same exponent. Right, so that's going to be our answer. So when you're combining like terms, it's got to be the same letter and the same exponent. Both of those have to be true. Otherwise, you can't combine them. All right. This one is the same thing. So make sure here we distribute that negative. So make both of those negative. And then you're going to look to combine like terms. But to do that, make sure that you're only combining terms that have got the same letters and the same exponents. Like for instance, like if we're looking at these two terms right here, we can't combine those because even though they have the same letters, they don't have the same exponent, right? Because that x is a cubed and that x is to the 5th power, not the same exponents. But we could combine, for example, this one with this one, right? And also this one as well, right? Because they've all got x to the 5 and z to the 2. All right, so these red ones, we could not combine those guys. But the blue ones, we could combine. So that's the main thing for this next problem here. So 1, distribute that negative. And then 2, make sure you combine your like terms. That's all that's going on there. We got 2 more. So I'll do this one right here. So it looks like we've got a little bit of a box method, right? Because notice there is no plus sign or no minus sign that's separating those, right? That 3w is actually touching the parentheses. That means multiplication. So we need to do box method real quick. It's a pretty simple one, right? 3w here, and then w squared and a plus 3. So it's a pretty quick box method, but we do need to multiply those together, right? Because there's no adding or subtracting that's separating that from the parentheses. They're right next to each other. There's none of that going on, so it's going to be a multiply. All right, so 3w, remember that's an invisible 1 right there. So 3w to the 1 times w to the 2 would be 3w, and then for the power, add the exponents, 1 and 2, so 3w to the 3rd. And then our other side would be 3w times 3, that would be 9w. Okay, so what that tells us is that this thing right here, we multiply that out using box method, and that gives us 3w cubed plus 9w. And then don't forget this piece over here. So plus 4w squared minus w. Last step, as always, always look to combine your like terms. So if you notice, here is the like terms that we've got. That 9w minus w, right? Because they've got the same exponent. They both got that invisible 1. This guy stands alone. He's the only one with cubed, the only one with an exponent of 3. And this guy stands alone. He's the only one with an exponent of 2. But those two green guys, they've got the invisible 1s, right? So those are combinable. 9w minus 1w is 8w. So those green guys will combine into an 8w. And then don't forget the red and the blue. So we have 3w cubed. And then our blue one comes down, 4w squared. And that is your answer. 3w cubed plus 4w squared plus 8w. This last one's going to be the same thing. Just don't forget that squared, right, it means it is being multiplied by itself. So you're going to have to do a little box method right here. P plus 3, P plus 3. So you're going to have to use box method, figure out what that is, and then make sure you distribute that negative and do your subtraction. Okay, work with your group mates. That's why I've got you in groups. I want you to talk to each other, help each other. And if you're stuck, you can always go back, look at those videos from last week about box method. And also, don't forget, please, 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 reach out to me. I want to help, but you got to reach out if you have questions. All right, good luck.